question here. It's what are 3 exercises I can do that really target the core muscles other than sit-ups and crunches? And this is something that you get all the time, especially as a personal trainer, is what can I do to increase my core? What can I do to strengthen my core? What can I do to get that six-pack, you know? But contrary to a popular belief, you can't, abs are made in the kitchen, and I know that you probably have all heard that abs are made in the kitchen, but there are some things that you can do to trim the waistline, and the sit-ups and the crunches, those aren't going to do it for you, because if you look at the anatomy, most of the fat, the belly fat that people always get, that is on top, so you got your abs, and that is on top of your abs. You ever see skinny kids? Most skinny kids have abs because it's just a lack of fat tissue, of adipose tissue in that particular area. And so with that, there is one exercise that you can do to trim the waistline, and if you see Arnold, he's really good at that, and it's called a stomach vacuum. You can look up tutorials on YouTube and on the internet, Google, whatever. And essentially, what you do is you pull your navel in, and you pull your sphincter, your bum hole up. So you breathe out all your air, and then pull in. I'll come over here, maybe be able to show you guys a little bit. So you breathe out, and then you pull the stomach in. You try to have your belly button reach your spine. And that is one of, if not the only way that you can tighten your core to get your waistline smaller, apart from your diet, what you do in the kitchen. And the great thing about stomach vacuums, as they're called, is you have 3 or 4 types of abs. You have the rectus abdominis, you have the obliques, outer and inner, and then you have the transverse abdominis, which hooks onto your spine and goes around your stomach. It's nature's weight belt is what they call it. People that use big belts when they lift, I mean, that's great if you're using a lot of weight, but if you're just casually lifting, you don't really need a weight belt. What you need to do is to train yourself to be able to suck your belly button in and your bum hole up, and that will give you the desired effect, especially if you're posing on stage or anything like that. You have that broad chest and narrow waistline. So stomach vacuums is a great way to go. Has a lot of really good benefits. Another really good thing to do is the ab wheel, because that works your core. And when I say core, I don't mean just your abs. I feel like that's what a lot of people get at when they say core. They want that six-pack, those obliques, the striations that go down. But when I say core, I mean everything. Your rectus abdominis, your transverse abdominis, your inner and outer obliques, your erector spinae, that's part of your core. And really, the core is anything besides your arms and your legs could be considered your core, because it's in the core of your body. But what most people talk about core is the abs, or the six-pack, as you call it. So ab rollers are really good. The stomach vacuums are good as well. And with crunching and with sit-ups, it's kind of hard on your spine because you're constantly doing this motion. Lots of people tense up right here, and that your sternocleidomastoid will get really tight if you do that, and you'll have neck problems and a tight chest because you're constantly crunching like this. Not to mention that your back will start to hurt because you're constantly pulling it out of its natural curvature, which is something that you don't want to do. So another thing you can do is a plank. Plank, side plank, forward plank. You can look up different ways to do those, different variations, doing on one leg, one arm, those types of things. Those are really beneficial because it works not only your abs, but it also works your low back. And if you do it right, it should work your glutes as well, which most Americans lack proper glute function, especially when they're doing squats and other things, because they've developed so many of the other prime movers, such as the hamstrings and the quads, so that your glutes don't activate or fire as they should. I would say, I really like, I used to love hanging on the bar and doing toe touches or knee ups, or sitting in a captain's chair. I used to sit in captain's chairs for days and do knee raises. But what that does is, it works the rectus abdominis a decent amount. But what it also does is it works the psoas. And with the psoas, it's a muscle that hooks onto your low back, and then it goes through the hip joint and attaches onto the femur. And with that, here, I'll bend this down. So it hooks from the low back, and it goes through here, and it hooks onto the femur, and what it does is it raises the leg. It's one of the muscles that raise the leg. So if you think about it, when you're doing hangs, and you're constantly raising that, you're working a little bit of the abs because it has to stabilize you, but you're also working that psoas, which a lot of people don't need to work because they sit at a desk all day with their knees in that constant, upward position. So they already have a tight psoas to begin with. So that's it. You got for, 3. There's obviously more. I can't cover all of them. You have the stomach vacuums to trim that waistline. You have the ab roller, works the low back and the core. But make sure that you're doing it right. Watch a few tutorials on it. And then you have the planks, because that kind of gets all around, and glute activation as well. It works that core. So hey, thanks for the question, and check you guys next time.